The moon woke up is like the second coming of Stupidity Toilet, except in the form of horror slop. Let me explain. Horror slop is a genre in its own, mainly to summarize being any of these what would you do TikToks of some giant eldritch horror eating the earth. And while definitely slop, some of these are pretty funny, and of course in the real world would be terrifying, but through the digital medium not so much, but who cares, it's fun. And while The Moon Woke Up, a YouTube horror series, is best to be described as the pinnacle of horror slop. When I said it was basically Stupidity Toilet, I wasn't lying. It truly has the same reason for existence and vibe that Stupidity Toilet has, except for it being a horror series. Not only did it start out with an original video that in no way should have or was supposed to be a series, literally destroying the earth in said video, but this series is stupidly unserious and knows that fully, and that's why it's funny. Like in episode 6 of the series, the entire planet of Neptune chases after a spaceship flying through a wormhole, and somehow the spaceship wins the chase. This series is something else, and at first watch, it seems like you are supposed to just turn off your brain and enjoy the madness. But if you don't do that, then you get a few interesting details, and as you keep watching, you realize this shit got lore. And like, that's my job, so let's get into it. The first episode of this series is unique, and it was very obvious there were no plans for sequels, maybe ideas floating around, but actual clear plans were very much not there, and it feels very much like a self-contained video. But not only is it still the inciting incident, but I still think there were a few details that were later expanded upon into real lore. This is important because not only would this be the first time we were heading to the moon, but it's actually a month before the real world time we'd go to the moon, and in future episodes, the moon awakening seems like it was actually known by scientists, and that was the reason they went in the first place. Speaking of the moon awakening, yeah, that's the main aspect of this episode, so instead of trying to explain what's happening on screen and fail, I'll just show you. So, yeah, the moon wakes up, which we later in the series call awaken, and immediately head dives into the earth, biting a big chunk out of it, and of course, very much realistically destroys the planet entirely, leaving nothing left. Oh, my mistake. That somehow did not happen. Also, another interesting element of this episode is that when the moon wakes up, these astronauts are so chill about it. They're just like, oh, the moon got a mouth now. That's pretty crazy. Oh well. But they do call a code black back to Houston, which is really just more confusing, because what is a code black? Usually code blacks are like a bomb start or a guy with a pew pew. So is NASA back home just thinking a guy with a gun is flying at top speeds at the earth ready to strike, or is the awakening possible unknown threat included in the code black? Either option is entirely bizarre and very stupid, but the second one is less stupid in universe and actually seems to be right as we go on. Thankfully we can, as this episode is now over. Okay, so this is where the actual lore starts for this series, with it seeming like once the original video got over 20 million views, the creator, Mr. Friend, went, okay, time to plan an entire indie horror series and make a bunch of money. He definitely did the second thing, but maybe not the first, as calling this a horror series is kinda lying, more like a Michael Bay movie meeting a lot, and I mean a lot of drugs. But it does have lore. Speaking of lore, I'll just go through the episode and summarize while pointing out interesting details. The episode is structured by cutting from a whole month before the lunar impact, which is what the moon eating half the earth is called, and shows us basically society actually knowing about the moon's awakening. This is really interesting because not only does it seem like scientists knew, but random people in the street like this guy also knew and are even acting like they're chosen ones who are gifted knowledge by the moon itself.
I've had the vision. I bet you've seen the signs too. Chosen. All over. Being transformed. The government think we're stupid. They pretend like nothing's going on. But no, we have had enough. No more lies, because the awakened ones will soon be here.
Then we cut to UK only 5 days before the events with things beginning to start, like this kid drawing not only the moon, but all the planets awaken. Oh yeah, I kinda also forgot to say, you see the other planets also awaken rushing for Earth in the last part. We'll get to that later. Then we get the big reveal, which is, oh my god, his skin looks horrible. Oh, dude really needs to get like a skincare thing going. Oh my god, self-love, man. I get your smile and all, but like, I can see your pain. Ugh. In all seriousness, this is most likely just a chosen one or just a human version of the Awakened Ones. It's hard to say exactly what they're called, even in future episodes, so I'll just call them Awakened Ones. This is also obviously why they are drawing the Awakened planets. Now, why humans on Earth are becoming these weird, deformed, very hideous smiling creatures is unknown currently, as while you would assume it could happen, whatever it is, to non-living things such as a moon or a planet. But it doesn't seem like it's limited to that, and whatever is happening is spreading somehow from the moon to the Earth and actually infecting certain people. We then cut to a tribe in Africa on the actual very day, if not moment, of the moon awakening, literally worshipping it with his face dug into the ground. This is clear evidence that the moon and the Awakened Ones are having a real effect over the Earth and its people's minds, not only giving them visions, turning them into weird Awakened Ones as well, but also having the people literally worship them. These planets are being treated as gods, which to be fair, they are named after some, so I can't blame them. The biggest question is why? Why is the moon and some of the planets awakening, and what does that even mean, and why not the Earth? And why are they all targeting the Earth and not other non-awakened planets? Why are people on Earth turning into mini zombie Awakened Ones, or getting visions, or any of the things happening in this series? To be honest, I don't know. This stuff is so weird and hard to understand, but I do think there is an answer, and I think we're gonna find it hidden in these episodes. So we just have to keep on going. The episode ends with the moon crashing in Africa and a 5-year time jump with only 10% of the population still alive. But to be honest, they've had better days with the entire ocean dried up and every building we see being very much destroyed. And these drawings from that one kid, which are somehow still in pristine condition, while the many buildings, including the one it was in, are no longer there. Speaking of these drawings, what the hell is that? Yeah, so what is this weird tentacle monster that just isn't a planet or a moon? Or why is there a rocket ship flying at it? Or better question, because while this weird tentacle monster was obviously meant to be seen as it gets a zoom in shot, I'm assuming this little drawing of an Earth also awakened was not meant to be seen. Okay, so I'm gonna pull back the curtain here as I've seen this series up to the current episode, so I know exactly what this weird space monster is. It's this guy, or better known as Patricia, but the Earth being awakened has actually not appeared, meaning it's foreshadowing, and I catched it before it appeared in the series. Now for the rest of this video, I'm gonna do more jumping between episodes instead of scene by scene summaries, so if you actually haven't seen the series yet, I gave you basically a humorous summary of the first 2 episodes with some lore. But I do recommend if you truly care about spoilers to go watch it. But if you really don't want to, it's fine, because I'll only be talking about the lore related stuff now. So in episode 3, we basically get a new status quo with our 3 awakened planets all sitting very still and watching the Earth in just the right way that somehow nothing bad happens. We also get formally introduced to Friend Industries, which is supposed to help out the Earth and make sure everything is okay, like making artificial water, torturing people with weird goo, and making weapons to fight the giant sentient planets. Very cool. It's also named Friend Industries, which is also the name of the guy, Mr. Friend, who is on the podium going on about how awakened ones were good and people were chosen and whatnot. This gives a little bit of a nefarious possible connection between Friend Industries and, well, the planets. And this is where my theory actually starts. I know, it took a while, sorry. Okay, so I don't believe this company is actually working for the planets, but I do believe they are a part of how they were possibly awakened, or at the very least knew what had happened and are using it as an opportunity to do some pretty awful stuff. This is all because the moon goo. This weird radioactive goo is found in random places on Earth after the lunar impact, and not only does it seem to turn people into awakened ones, but in later episodes we see it being tested and eventually succeeding, producing a super soldier-like serum for Friend Industries, which they'll probably need to fight off the weird Slenderman people. See, there's these weird guys who are most likely evolved versions of the awakened humans as they take some sort of butterfly-style metamorphosis, growing into whatever this is, being way faster and stronger, and also as time goes on, way more frequent and becoming an actual problem for the Earth, along with as many other problems. One of those problems being that the planets are fighting back, or well, somewhat. See, anytime a spaceship or a satellite gets close to Jupiter's mouth to see what's inside, a sentence I never thought I'd say, Jupiter's moon flies out like bullets. But to be honest, that's very much a small problem compared to the next one I'm about to show you. Well, that was something. I don't know what to say at all. And neither did the creator, so the next episode is immediately a 150-year time jump where everything is futuristic and the Earth is just safe for the moon inside it, and oh my god, why are they trying to reopen it? This is literally what I'm talking about with Friends Industries maybe not being so great, with them literally trying to recreate the gate that brought a giant hand that took the evil sentient planets away. Only bad can ever come from that. They also made sure to note that the moon is actually being harvested for the weird moon goo and inside its actual body. This is very weird. It's all weird because theoretically we don't know, but we would assume the moon is still very much awake and like has a face and is just chilling as humans harvest it for its glowing liquids and pump it into soldiers. To be honest, I don't blame it for sending Slenderman after us. We kinda suck. Now, there is actually a secret episode of this series that at first just seems like a merch plug, but when you watch it, you'll learn it's actually hiding real lore. We did it. We found lore. And of course, it relates to our favorite friend, Friend Industries. See, it's a confirmation that the scientists knew about not just the moon, but also Jupiter awakening as they saw signs, but also Friend Industries existed before the planets even awakened, something originally in propaganda ads we were not told. But the more creepier and lore-heavy thing is exactly when Jupiter begins to awaken, we cut to a room with a bunch of chained up people in Friend Industries screaming. This is so weird. It seems these people who are connected to the planets are most likely in the early stages of becoming chosen or awakened. Now, I assume this process is fast-tracked by the existence of the goo, which comes from the moon, but even without the goo or the moon being on the Earth, somehow the planets are making a psychic connection, still spreading the weird awakened curse or fungi or disease. We really don't know what it is yet, but whatever they are, we know they are slowly beginning to pop up, and Friend Industries is kidnapping them and experimenting on them even before the moon came crashing. Now, the ending of episode 5 is really interesting because it actually has a gate being opened by Friend Industries, sending a team of astronauts in a spaceship into it. Sadly, Neptune magically awakens after 150 years and goes after them in a high-speed chase. Ignoring the stupidity of what is happening on screen, why exactly does it awaken right now? Is it perhaps trying to actually stop the ship from seeing what's on the other side? Who really knows? This series is nonsensical and weird. But what we do know is on the other side is even weirder. Don't believe me? It's a giant tentacle monster from before birthing a new moon with a face and giving it to a random planet. Told ya. Not only is this the exact same scene as we depicted 150 years ago in the child's drawings with the rocket ship and the weird monster, but it also gives us an actual understanding of maybe what's happening. In episode 7, the latest one, we see all the way back in prehistoric time with some hunter-gatherers as the moon blows up. Or more, a giant monster comes and destroys it. Now, as you know, this doesn't make a lot of sense, being that while secretly sentient, we very much still have a moon. Thankfully, the episode explains this, as after a horrible event that mostly wiped out a lot of things on Earth, the tentacle monster birthed a new moon. This one awakened. Now, this weird monster, who I will call Patricia because that's what the astronauts who found her decided to call her, seems to have a plan. This thing goes from planet to planet and takes their moon and replaces them with a sentient one, who after a long time eventually will wake up, crashing into their planet and spreading this weird disease that makes the planet and everything on it also awaken. This is backed up by the fact that later in the episode we see not only her do this exact thing, but also a planet with a moon crash into it and apparently biological life detected, which is exactly what's happening to Earth, because that's the big lore reveal, and most likely the next major plot beat of this series. As well, it all leads back to those drawings. We saw the planets, we saw Patricia, and we saw the Earth awaken. And well, if you go by the theory and based on what's happening, it seems kind of destined to eventually happen if it hasn't already. And this is the hidden lore of the moon woke up. Is it a lot? God no, this is very little actual lore, but there is stuff I think I found that on first watch you simply wouldn't, and after cohesively putting it together, we got a pretty good theory on what will happen next. Okay, that's a theory, bye.